Okay, so in this guide, we're going to take a look at how somebody can go about creating a full-length, let's say like an animated explainer or any sort of explainer video using just some simple tools and maybe a voiceover or a software generated voice. So like taking some of this content here, we're going to focus on a very simple example of math. Using some content from, let's say, a website like Math is Fun. Hypothetically, if you're a teacher and you want to convert whatever you're doing into a well presented animated explainer, this is a series of steps that you can easily follow to get that result. So first things, I have here a blank presentation open from basically Microsoft PowerPoint. And all I'm going to do here is try to plan out. So first I'm going to start with the appearance. For that, I can just go to a website like PowerPoint templates and quickly go select a nice template that matches my theme for math. I think for a simple one, this one's good. I've used this one before as well. Both of them are good. So I'll go with that one. And if you already have PowerPoint, this is completely free. So that's going to put it on my download folder. So the next step is really to come in here and open that template as your primary template. So basically you can browse for themes, and then it's going to take you to where you just opened it, and then you can just put it here. So I'll walk those steps again one more time. So you come in the top tab here, design, and then push the down arrow, do browse for themes, and then you can put your theme on here. So now our goal is to take some of this information and sort of lay it out nicely. So the first slide is not looking very good. So what I'll do here is insert a new slide that just inserts a generic one. If I push this little arrow and push that one, I can say introduction equations. Okay, so that's, I'm gonna add a new slide here. So first thing we want to do is, what is an equation? So now what we're going to do is do something simple. An equation is when two numbers are set, or two things one another. Okay, and then what it does is it even gives a little example of an equation. So what I'm going to do is go on the equation panel here under home, insert the equation panel, and I'm going to write like a generic equation like this, and I'm just going to say remove that x plus two equals 4. Okay, and I can kind of position it and resize it to, let's say, 36. This kind of fits better with the theme overall. X plus 2, and then we could do a little explanation as to what that equation is. For example, this equation states that an unknown number x when added to 2 gives us 4. So what I'll do is I'll also utilize this note section down here, because this will later on become our script. So this is more like script text, and what I can do is kind of use this bottom note section to write my script and just kind of summarize this. So one another, okay, and then equation states a known value has known values and values, okay, and then delete that one, delete that one. You don't really need to add a subtitle, because I think if I go in the reading mode, you can see how it's sort of coming together. Okay, so next thing is it goes ahead and defines what is the solution. So we can say so since it kind of carried over all the properties, I'll put what I'm thinking first as like the thought that needs to be expressed with that slider down here, and then summarize it up top. I think that might be the best approach. So let's see. Okay. The solution equation is something makes the value equation, something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. And then on the summary I can put left side equals right. So if you want to think of it, this will be our visual, and then this will be our script. So just kind of coming through, and then we could say for the equation x plus 2 equals 4. Since this is a script, I'm writing out the plus 2 equals 4, and then putting commas, because later on when I transcribe text to speech, you'll see how that kind of fits into the picture. So we have equals 4, and then left side equals right side. So for the equation, we need to find a value for x such that when we add 2 equals 4. Find a value for x such that we get 4. Such that we get find a value for x. I think that's good enough. because that's just a thing. This will be the text to speech. And then this next slide, so you'll see it puts this on there, and I'll delete all the extra stuff. So how to find the solution. Okay. In order to find the solution equation, we can use some rules of algebra. Sure, we get the right answer. When we move something, so you could see like this was just a reference to start out with. I think it does a little bit too much in terms of like special equations, and it gets a little bit too specific. So I don't think it serves our purpose anymore, because all we want to do is just kind of show. So when we move something from the left side of equation to the right side of the equation, we get, when we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we get we have to change the sign to the opposite. In this case, so find the value for x. Change the sign. We have to change the sign. Okay, so in this case, when we move positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change, in case positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the positive 2 to the value of negative 2. Okay, move positive 2 to the right hand side of the equation, change sign negative 2. Okay, so our final equation becomes x plus x, I have to put plus as if it's transcribing it, x plus x plus 4, oh sorry, it becomes x x equals 4 minus 2. So I can take this one, copy it, and I could say 4 minus 2. Lastly, we can solve we can subtract the equation. We can subtract 4 from 2 to get. We can subtract 2 from 4 to get positive 2. Final answer. Okay, so another copy paste, and then you could say positive 2. Okay, and always if I'm teaching somebody, I would teach them how to also just check their answer at the end of the day. So I'm gonna just put a slide in there showing them how to check their answer. So how check answer. I can leave that equation, and then so let's see. Okay, so we have that. Alright, to checking your answer, what do we want to say? So we want to say, in order to check our answer, we can plug in value of 2 for x and make sure that the right hand side comma matches the left hand side. Okay, so I don't think we need all that. We'll do this x, so we'll say 2 plus 2 equals 4. Paste, and we get 4. So when plug 2 into the value for x, we should get 2 plus 2 equals 4. When we add 2 plus 2, we get 4 on the left side. Therefore, since the left side equals to the right hand side, we have found the solution. Okay, it's a very simple example. So that's our slide. So we can do a quick review here. Introduction to equations. What is an equation? An equation is when two things are set equal to one another. This equation states that an unknown number x, when added to 2, gives us 4. And then I could add maybe one more line here. This is like the editing part of the whole process. So we could say known value and value. Okay, so I'm trying to basically just think like one step ahead. So basically, like if I have, for example, what is the solution here? Left side equals the right side. So we have x plus 2 equals 4. Find the value for x. So the solution to the equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal to the value on the right side. For the equation x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x such that when we add 2, it equals 4. So we have to find the value for x, and then how to find the solution. So find the value for x, and then x plus 2 equals 4. So in order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. And we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the positive 2 to the value of negative 2. So our final equation becomes x equals 4 minus 2. Lastly, when we subtract 2 from 4, we get positive 2 as our final answer. Okay? And then we go through the checking. In order to check our answer, make sure the left-hand side matches the right-hand side. When we plug 2 into the value for x, we should get 2 plus 2 equals 4. When we add 2 plus 2, we get 4 on the left-hand side. Therefore, since the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, we have the right solution. Okay, so this script sounds pretty good, and it looks like it does what we intended it to do. Next step is really to go ahead and transcribe this text using your favorite text-to-speech program, and then coordinate that text-to-speech bits with the animation to make sure it's crisp and ready. And then we can test it a couple of times by synthesizing it into an MP4 to just fine-tune all the animations. Okay, so now our next goal is to take all of the text that we had just created for our script here and convert that to speech. The program that I like to use is Natural Readers, and it's the Natural Readers commercial version, and it's about, I think, $480 or so per year, I think. So that was pretty good because I do a lot of work on this stuff. And then the voices sound pretty good, so that's the one that I had chosen. There are some cheaper options, like for example, Amazon Poly is very simple software. I'm sure you can implement it using that. Google has a lot of AI voices, and they give you a lot of free characters, and I think it's $4 or $16 per million characters, depending on like how many you do. So those might be a couple of other options to consider. I like this one just because of the simple editor that it has. So if I have a script, like for example the one that we just created, if I create a new file, what I can do is add an intro here. In this video lesson, we will get an introduction to equations. Okay, so I'll copy that and paste it. Okay, and then on the workflow standpoint, it needs a little transition, I think, so I'll put what is an equation. Okay, so I can copy that, paste it, and then how do we find the solution to an equation? Okay, so I can copy that, paste it, and it's just pretty much like just copying and pasting. There's not that much work. On this editor, I think they have a limit of 100 paragraphs total, So it can be, if you're doing like a big audiobook, it could be kind of complicated, kind of difficult, but on a smaller job like this one, it works perfectly fine. Okay, so copy that, and then we can even paste that here. Okay, and then, so this will be like our starting template, and I can select from like a whole host of voices. So the female voices are down here, the male voices are up here. I'm not sure which one to pick, so I'll just pick something random. I'll pick Barry, and then just kind of go with that, see how that does. You can always change it later, and I'll name it to equations. Okay. So now the goal is, there's a couple of things. So if you already have it, you can see how it took all of those sentences and just converted them back to like their respective subsets. So it put them in all different categories, which is pretty nice. I'll do a quick demo as to just get a feel for how it sounds and see if there's any like errors, because a lot of times you might have a typing error and it just sounds bad. So we'll just play that and see how that sounds.
In this lesson, we will get an introduction to equations. What is an equation? An equation is when two things are set equal to one another. This equation states that an unknown number, x, when added to 2, gives us 4. An equation has a known value and an unknown value. How do we find the solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4.
Okay, I noticed a little error. The slide would say, what is a solution? It says, how do we find a solution? I think the how part is... No, I think that was okay. I was going maybe one step slower. I'll continue that. Sorry about that.
We need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4. In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the positive 2 to the value of negative 2. So, our final equation becomes x equals 4 minus 2. Lastly, we can subtract 2 from 4 to get positive 2 as our final answer. In order to check our answer, we can plug in the value of 2 for x and make sure that the right-hand side matches the left-hand side. When we plug 2 into the value for x, we should get 2 plus 2 equals 4. When we add 2 plus 2, we get 4 on the left-hand side. Therefore, since the left-hand side equals to the right-hand side, we have found the right solution.
Okay, I think the only thing that's missing, what I can do is, if I think about it, on the transcription, the only thing that I was listening for was whether everything just sounds correct or not, and it does. So what I'll do is I'll queue that up for download. So basically all you do is click this download button and then download all as audio, and then you can just do separated audio files. So what that'll do is each one of these will be a separated audio file. If you combine them all, it'll just put them into one big MP3, so you can just play it almost like an audiobook format. But I like to separate it because I'm going to position that with transitions so it sounds really professional. So you'll see that in a second here. So okay, start. And since we played it and tested it, it's pretty quick. Sometimes it might take a little bit of time, but I think it just downloaded that, so that's good. I can come in here and then go to my downloads, and then it'll be here. So these will be basically all the voices that we have. And I can just really move all of that to trash. It's not really needed, except for the GitHub app. Okay, so we'll see, because it's I think running at the moment. So okay, what we could do is kind of think about where each one of these goes. Okay, So this one, in this lesson, we'll get an intro, goes here. And in this step really is where I even plan out all my animations, honestly. So what I'll do is like, okay, so like position that. Like if you leave it where it is, for example, you'll see that it shows up here and it looks kind of weird, and it'll even show up on the final product, which is something we don't want. What we can do is move this up, and then you'll see when we do the reading, there's nothing, so that's good. So move that up there, and then all this should do is...
In this lesson, we will get an introduction to equations.
Perfect. We go under animations, so we can select this to be like a peek in situation. It doesn't really matter what you pick, totally up to you. For this one, fine with most animation things that it has. Okay, so what we want to do is to just kind of configure these animations so they play automatically. So you'll see this little arrow here. If you see the arrow, that means somebody has to click something for it to play. What we'll do is, instead of doing that, instead of on click, we'll say with previous. So it'll just play that as soon as the presentation loads. Okay, and then the next is the intro to equations. If we do with previous, what that'll do is, as that's playing, it'll animate it above. So it'll sound something like this. I'll play it.
In this lesson, we will get an introduction to equations.
So that's kind of exactly how we want. So those steps one more time, where we change this one, the top one, to be with previous, so it loads as soon as the slide comes up. And then we made the second, the actual animation itself, which is represented here by the peak symbol here, as you can see, that with previous. So as that's talking, this will be animating. So that's a very simple way to do it. Okay, and then on the next one, so what we want to do is, what is an equation? So we have basically these three. What is an equation? An equation is when two things, so that's number 2. And then this equation states so that's 3. And then an equation has known and unknown values, so that's 5. Okay, so that's that right there. Okay, so you'll see those. And then to do it in bulk, what I can do is do one other thing. So I can select, push, click on that bottom one, and then press shift on my keyboard and select, or select all of them like that. And then do all on this one, do all of them after previous. So what that'll do is play this, then play that, then play that, then play that, right? And then this very first one, we make that one with previous. So what'll happen is the slide will load, this will start playing, and then when that's done, this will play, and then when that's done, this next one will play, and then when that's done, this last one will play. Okay, now what we have to do is to take all of these elements and simply use the bulk approach that we just took on the other one. And on this, we'll just do a checkerboard. It looks good enough. And what you'll see is all of these show up here. Okay, and you can, since they're all selected already, you can set their duration to be, in this scenario, there we had all after. We had selected after. On these ones, we'll select with previous. And that'll become clear in 1 second. So you'll see, okay, so what is an equation, right? So that'll play while that's talking. Oh, that'll animate while that's talking. Okay, and then two things are set equal to one another. Okay, so that'll play when that starts talking, and then that'll play this equation states, yeah, so it should show the equation itself while that's talking. And then this last one is kind of already positioned where it needs to be because it's the last one on the list. So just kind of let's get a feel for how that sounds.
What is an equation? An equation is when two things are set equal to one another. This equation states that an unknown number, x, when added to 2, gives us 4. An equation has a known value and an unknown value.
Okay, perfect. So that sounds exactly like we intended it to. Okay, so this next one is how to find a solution. And this one has, X out. That was accidental. So we have how to find a solution all the way through lastly. So that is lastly. So I can literally just take all of those, copy them, and then come on the PowerPoint and then just move all of them. Select them all and move them up there. And then what the nice thing is, you'll see here, they have numbers. When you download from Natural Reader Commercial, it gives you numbers. So you can put 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, just like that. And then select all of them, shift, select all. On the first try, make them with previous or after previous, and then make this first one with previous. With previous meaning whenever the slide loads, it'll start playing. Whenever that's done playing, this will play, that will play, this will play, that will play, and that will play. And then on the animations, we'll just use the same general strategy that we've been using. And this last one might be a little tricky to select. I think they're all in the same thing. So what I'll do is I'll make one slight modification here and cut this out and paste it separately. Just so it's a animation of its own. And then here, I can copy that text. Okay, since that's on top of the other one, copy that text, or cut that text and delete the box. And then change this first one to that one. So that way I can animate them separately, since the texts, I believe, are separate. Okay, I think the spacing looks relatively good, so I'll put that on there. Okay, so then I'll take that one and then I can use a dissolve generic on this. And then since all of these are selected, I'll do start with previous. So all of them will play as the thing is talking. So, okay, move the how up there, move the find along with the how, because it'll say how to find the solution, find the value for x. Those will be queued up. Okay, so the equation, then what do we say here? We say algebra to get the right answer. It's probably going to be best to even show that on there. So these three will simultaneously animate. So it'll basically kind of lead from this slide on to the next slide. And then move. Okay, so then it's saying 7 in this case. There's likely some error. The solution to this equation, let me play this really quick.
The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side.
I'm just trying to think. So this will likely have to play after that as well. And so this will play there. These two will come in next. That one probably still belongs there. So it'll be 6, 7. In order to find the solution to the equation, we have to use the rules of algebra. The solution. So whenever I get in this mode, what I do is, even though it's not perfect, I'll pick where things need to go. Or even before picking, just play it. See how it sounds, base level.
How do we find the solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x.
Okay, so it sounds like those two can go together, and then these ones would go here. And then, let me play that one more time.
How do we find the solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the...
Okay, so there was one other error. Yeah, so I'll play that.
How do we find the solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good actually. It equals 4. So then in order to find... Let me play that from here. So you can actually just play it from here.
In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign.
Okay. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation. Okay, so then this should come up, and then change the sign to -2 should come up.
How do we find the solution to an equation?
Whoa, okay. It does that sometimes if you've accidentally clicked something.
How do we find the solution to an equation?
Take my hand
The
off
solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4. In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move +2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the +2 to the value of -2. So, our final equation becomes x.
Okay, so whenever it says so, our final equation becomes and then it'll say x plus 2. So I think this will be the full slide.
How do we find the solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4. In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move +2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the +2 to the value of -2. So, our final equation becomes x equals 4 minus 2. Lastly, we can subtract 2 from 4 to get +2 as our final answer.
Perfect. So I think that sounds great. And then we'll do the how to check your answer slide really quick. So we have used up to 13 here. So in order to check our answer all the way up, And then just remember to move this little talking thing outside so it never shows up on your final presentation. Same process as before. Organize 15, 16, 14, 15, 16, 17. Select all. Do this one after previous first, and then the first one is with previous. So what that does is as soon as the slide loads, it'll play that first, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. Okay. So checking your answer, all of these, what we can do is do anything selected. And then, so we have the first one here. Oh yeah, we have to select all of these and make them with previous. So as it's talking, it'll play. So we can do these two first. So in order to check our answer, checking your answer, that kind of fits together. And then even when we plug in 2 for the value of x, yeah, even that one fits on the first one because it's just talking about the same equation. Plugging in the value of 2, when we plug in the value of 2, therefore, since the left-hand side equals the right-hand side, we have found the right solution. So all then we can do is to just sort of give a little validation symbol. And what I've done for simple validations in the past is to use a smiley face. It's very simple. On this, you have on the shapes, so home, insert, so you can go insert, and then shapes like this, and then just do a smiley symbol. And generally they're yellow, so you could do a shape fill to make it yellow. And then that's pretty much it. And you want to basically quickly animate that. We can pick any animation really. Shape fill is good enough. So we'll put that at the end, and then just do starts with previous. So as it's saying, therefore, since the left hand side equals right hand side, we have found the right solution. Okay, so that does it. This process that we just went through of doing the AI generated voices, that's not a really mandatory. If you don't have, that kind of money to spend on something like this, if you just kind of want to do it one off, you can also just kind of come up here, insert audio, and then just do a record audio, and then record each single one. So I could say, like, for example, come in here, record audio. So okay, so you can allow the audio, and then it comes in and says click to start. How to check your answer, right? And then you can insert that, and then really what that'll do is audio recording here. So if I play that to start, how to check your answer, it'll sound like that. So what you can do is use that and position that instead of using these voices. Totally up to you. For starters, I think I would prefer this approach because it's free, and then as you get more used to it, then you can maybe think about investing, but totally up to you how you want to go about it. Works both ways. Okay, so then this is done, and then our last step is let's quickly save, because that's always in case we lose progress here, it's going to be pretty detrimental. So we could say equations through induction, and I've saved it just on my desktop at the moment, but you may have another folder that you prefer to keep these in. And then what we could do is do a convert to. So if you go on basically the file menu up top here, it might be hard to see because it's outside the recording area, but if you go on file, or even I think file, it'll have an option for export, and then you can select one of your export options. If you select MP4, you can select a couple of qualities like internet quality, 1080. This is, I think, the dimensions for 1080. That one I think is 4K, and then low quality would be like a 720p. So you can pick your quality, and then don't really worry about these because we have pre-queued them. So basically just MP4 and export. And what that's doing behind the scenes really is it's creating this file, which you can see on there, and we can check our progress as to how that's doing down here. If you made a mistake or something, you can just cancel it while that's happening. It takes a few minutes, just kind of depends on the length of the video, but you can certainly just create that and go, and you can just certainly make that and just wait, do something else while that's creating. Okay, so it looks like it's done, and then it shows up like that. So what I'll do is quickly play it, see how it sounds. Sometimes there are errors in this process, so don't be shy to just come back here and redo some things. And I'll go over a couple of those tips in a second here. So let's open that with QuickTime and see how that runs. Make sure everything's within the recording window. Let's play.
In this lesson, we will get an introduction to equations. What is an equation? An equation is when two things are set equal to one another. This equation states that an unknown number, x, when added to 2, gives us 4. An equation has a known value and an unknown value. How do we find the solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals...
Let's take a stop right there. There was something that was going on here that I didn't understand. So there's almost like a pause here.
How do we find the solution?
So I want to analyze exactly what's going on there. So that's on... What slide is that? Okay, so find out what is the solution slide. Okay, so there's something going on here. And what I can do... What is an equation? Ooh. Okay, so there's has known and unknown. I don't think let me see, did I even yeah, so how do we find the solution to an equation? I don't think we did this slide, so let me do it quickly and then resynthesize it. So let's see. So we have all of those here, same process, 6, 7, and 8. And then what I can do is just that one's fine. X out of this really quick, and then just move that to trash. You can resynthesize it. So what we can do is 6, 7, and 8. Same strategy as before. Let me see something. Okay, I think I see what's going on here. We basically had two of those, two of these. I should say maybe even 3 of those things mispositioned. So it's going to be 6, 7, and 8 that need to get deleted from this slide. And so that one will become first. So the slide will be in order to find the solution. And then that will be the slide that we're going to work with. So, okay, we select all these. We do after previous. And then the first one we make with previous. So it loads as the slide is playing. And then select all of these. Go in the animations tab. And then do like a fly in. Simple. And then all of those we could say with previous. And then, so what is the solution? We'll just come in, it'll be playing. Or I guess it could be, how do we find the solution? And then what is the solution? I'm trying to think. There's a little bit, I could say something like this. So we could say, I could say, okay, what is a solution to an equation? Okay, copy this and go back to the natural reader. This is that iterative process that I was mentioning. Or X out of this, go back to this one, and then do insert, text at the end, paste it, and then it'll put that thing at the end. I can select it, download, select it as audio file. So instead of doing all as audio file, this time I've only done the selected one because I only need that one.
In this case, when we move,
And then it's selected already. So selected as audio file. And it'll put it here in a zip file. And then we could put that on our presentation. So then delete that from the animation. And then I could say, see if I can find that quickly.
for the equation,
It's not that one.
how do we find the solution?
Yeah, it's that one. So that one can get deleted. And then we have these 3. So, okay, what is the solution? It's going to be with previous. So when the slide loads, after previous, make something. Okay, left side equals right side. For the equation x plus 4, yep, we want this. Yeah, and those two can come together. So this slide will kind of sound like this.
What is a solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4.
Cool. Okay, so that sounds
In order
good.
to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the positive 2.
I noticed one other thing on that one. These 2 actually need to go here, I think, because that's just kind of an outro to that section. It'll sound better. Let me play it, and I guess you'll see what I'm talking about.
In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the positive 2. to the value of -2. So, our final equation becomes x equals 4 minus 2. Lastly, we can subtract 2 from 4 to get +2 as our final answer.
Perfect. So I think, yeah, that does it. And what I'll do is, I don't know if I actually got to the checking part. So I'll quickly go ahead and re-export this, export. And essentially, instead of it being a PDF, MP4, equations introduction, export. It takes a little bit of time, not too much. You can see the file here. So yeah, I think overall, if you make an error, it's not the end of the world, really. I think it's a pretty iterative process where you kind of go in with a script. You may have to make minor adjustments to the script, even up till the very last moment. Like we went in and we added what is an equation instead of how to go about finding the solution to an equation, which just didn't fit. So it's not the end of the world. Using the program to redo that voice, resynthesize this, it only takes a few minutes. It just adds a little bit more quality overall. So I'll play this now and see how that sounds.
In this lesson, we will get an introduction to equations. What is an equation? An equation is when two things are set equal to one another. This equation states that an unknown number, x, when added to 2, gives us 4. An equation has a known value and an unknown value. What is a solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4. In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move +2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the +2 to the value of -2. So, our final equation becomes x equals 4 minus 2. Lastly, we can subtract 2 from 4 to get +2 as our final answer. In order to check our answer, we can plug in the value of 2 for x and make sure that the right-hand side matches the...
Okay, so you could see a little error here. It's showing that symbol. And I think if I go on the PowerPoint, that needs to be moved outside. Otherwise, it's just not going to look perfect. I noticed one other thing. I think it was just very small. Has known... There's a little bit of grammar. So has a known values. It doesn't fit. So a known value and an unknown value. So that little s, it's a grammatical mistake. And then, so we might have one more synthesis at the end for it to just get finalized.
Left-hand side. When we plug 2 into the value for x, we should get 2 plus 2 equals 4. When we add 2 plus 2, we get 4 on the left-hand side. Therefore, since the left-hand side equals to the right-hand side, we have found the right solution.
Okay, and it just sounds like the rest of that presentation is good. So I'll move this to trash again. And then just quickly even empty the trash. Empty. And then make it one last time. So export it. Export it to MP4. Yeah, desktop, all that's good. So I think this is a good example of, again, fixing errors. It could be, right up until the last moment, you're ready to maybe submit your work. But just adding those little last finishing touches, I think it just makes the whole presentation really nice. One other thing was there are some proprietary programs that kind of do animated hand explainers, and some of those, I know I've used Video Scribe as one of those. It's relatively cumbersome and it doesn't really work too well for, I think it's like $150 per year on that, and it comes with a limited set of templates, and also it has, I think, a lot of premium things that you can buy, and you'll have a hand that draws it. So that's also worth checking out if you're interested. For like a low budget YouTube type of situation, I've always just utilized PowerPoint and the voices. The voices I have, the commercial I have purchased, as you can see, because I like it. But there are alternatives to even that, like Amazon Poly is one, Google Text to Speech is one. They have both generic and AI generated voices that you can play with. And I'm sure there's other services that I haven't tried out yet. But yeah, there are, if you like, for example, if you don't have a fast computer, then I think there's like Animaker is one that I've seen that does this entire process, I think. And I think that's a subscription based thing where you pay, I think you get like 20 or so monthly presentations that you can make using their platform for some fee. I think it's like $20 per month, but you can just double check some of those prices. It gets pricey pretty quickly if you're wanting to get that extra level of effects. Beauty of PowerPoint is it's already integrated into a lot of machines. All the software is kind of available. Doing animations is really simple, and then you have the flexibility to just kind of use your own voice if you don't want to invest in a software generated voice. So I think that's what I like. So I'll just play this one last time, see if everything checks out, and I think that'll be it for this video. So let me play this.
In this lesson, we will get an introduction to equations. What is an equation? An equation is when two things are set equal to one another. This equation states that an unknown number, x, when added to 2, gives us 4. An equation has a known value and an unknown value. What is a solution to an equation? The solution to an equation is something that makes the value of the equation on the left side equal the value on the right side. For the equation, x plus 2 equals 4, we need to find a value for x, such that when we add 2, it equals 4. In order to find the solution to this equation, we can use some rules of algebra to make sure we get the right answer. When we move something from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, we have to change the sign. In this case, when we move positive 2 from the left side to the right side, we have to change the positive 2 to the value of negative 2. So, our final equation becomes x equals 4 minus 2. Lastly, we can subtract 2 from 4 to get positive 2 as our final answer. In order to check our answer, we can plug in the value of 2 for x and make sure that the right-hand side matches the left-hand side. When we plug 2 into the value for x, we should get 2 plus 2 equals 4. When we add 2 plus 2, we get 4 on the left-hand side. Therefore, since the left-hand side equals to the right-hand side, we have found the right solution.
Man, that sounds pretty much perfect. So I think, yeah, that covers it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments. And also don't forget to subscribe if you like content like this, and also provide any suggestions for, if you see something that you'd like me to kind of put a tutorial on it, just let me know. Thank you.